Good morning, everyone. We had a late night last night, and it appears some people are still home sleeping. Or maybe you've turned us on and you're just home resting. Hi, everybody. We had a good time last night, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yes. It was so wonderful. Joshua Lozoff, amazing magician, great food, lovely company. It was just a very wonderful evening. That was to kick off the Gourmets for God events. There are still a few seats available, so you could, I'll talk about it in a minute, but is there anybody that's here for the very first time? Aye. Please stand. We have a gift for you, if that's okay with you. You were probably warned.
Yes, I was.
Okay, see? I knew that.
I told her if there was a flower, and she said, "Oh, I'll stand up."
Well, good. My name is Reverend Dusty Ripplemeyer, and I'm the spiritual director of this amazing community. We are a community that gathers on many days out of the week, specifically Sundays and Wednesdays for services, but we have classes on social activities and workshops and all other kinds of things throughout the week. We are a community that studies the science of mind. And the science of mind is a philosophy and a way of life that was kind of put together, if you will, by Ernest Holmes, and is part of a bigger umbrella of New Thought. So we gather together just to celebrate life and to support each other on this spiritual path. We believe that there's one God, and that God is a benevolent, loving presence within all of our lives. And so we just celebrate that. And we're very glad that you're here.
The reading for today is from a book called Teacher and Child, a book for parents and teachers, and it's by Haim Ginott. And he writes, "I have come to the frightening conclusion that I am the decisive element. It is my personal approach that creates the climate. It is my daily mood that makes the weather. I possess tremendous power to make life miserable or joyous. I can be a tool of torture or an instrument of inspiration. I can humiliate or humor, love or hurt or heal. In all situations, it is my response that decides whether a crisis is escalated or de-escalated, and a person humanized or dehumanized. If we treat people as they are, we make them worse. If we treat people as they ought to be, we help them become what they are capable of becoming."
So good morning to all of you that have just come into the room. Our theme for the month of August is the global vision, beauty, nature, art, and aesthetics. And the title of my message this morning is Live. The underlying statement from Ernest Holmes, what we believe statements is, we believe in eternal loving kindness. Eternal loving kindness. Now, Wikipedia, the important source of all information, defines loving kindness as a specific kind of love which is conceptualized in various faith traditions throughout time, has been. And it's a form of love characterized by acts of kindness. In Buddhism, the word is metta. And in metta, the heart opens unconditionally. In Hinduism, the Sanskrit word priti means loving kindness and refers to kindness or a friendly disposition, love, affection, harmony, and peacefulness. In Jainism, the Sanskrit word is maitri, and it is the sense of loving kindness towards all human beings. So you can see kind of a theme going on here, right? Agape is a Greek word, and it's often associated with loving kindness or just simply love, the love of one for many. And in Judaism, the Hebrew word chaste, it is not spelled that way, but chaste, is often used in the book of Psalms and refers to acts of kindness motivated by love. Now, I ran a search through the Science of Mind textbook, and I could only find one instance in which Ernest Holmes used that exact word, loving kindness. But he did use the word love, givingness, and kindness throughout the entire textbook. Now, the one time he did use it, he said, loving kindness awaits you at every turn in life's road. I proclaim this for you. He also said, love is the great lodestone of life. And without this quality of spirit, shining through life's action, everything becomes dull and drear. Goodness and human kindness are the handmaids of love and life and cannot be separated from reality. That's reality with a capital R. Now, a lodestone is a person or a thing regarded as a focus of attention. So what I hear in these statements by Ernest Holmes is that love is the great attractor in life. That without this divine quality, our lives would not shine. Our lives would not be brilliant, and in fact, they would be rather drab, in his words. That goodness and human kindness serve love itself, and that reality with a capital R cannot be separated from them. Love, goodness, and kindness are all qualities of God, and because God is everywhere at all times, then love, goodness, and kindness are everywhere. Remember, Ernest said, loving kindness awaits you at every turn in life's road. However, the truth is that we live our lives from the inside out, that what we give, so shall we receive, right? So if we want to experience loving kindness in our lives, then we have to be the space of loving kindness in order to experience it. We are all ambassadors of God here on the planet at this time. We are all ambassadors. And God experiences itself through us. God experiences its love, goodness, and kindness through each of us. Can you hear the significance in that? Can you hear our responsibility to everyone else in that? On Friday, I read a story, again on the internet. I'm not even on Facebook. It sounds like I'm on this thing. Anyway, I found this really wonderful story. And the story goes like this. Strapped for cash, a woman named Heather and her 2 stepchildren visited their local Walmart to purchase a couple of booster seats and some new clothing. Heather quickly realized that she wouldn't be able to get both the booster chair and the clothing, and so she pulled the kids aside over by the clothing section and told them, I can get either the booster seats this week or some new clothes, but I can't afford both, and for that I'm very sorry. But I promise next week I will get whatever else you need and want. Now the kids had to return the booster seats that they had already picked out, but 15 minutes later, as the 3 of them were looking through the clothing section, a man approached Heather with 2 booster seats in a Walmart bag that had already been paid for. Heather said, he told me that he heard the sadness in my voice when I told the kids I couldn't afford both this week. And then he told me, God bless, and he gave me a hug. She went on to explain, I was so shocked at the time that I didn't get his name right away or a picture. And once she recovered from the surprise, she scoured all over the whole Walmart trying to find this Good Samaritan, to get his name, which was Matthew, and to take a picture of him and to get another hug. She said, when you think there is nothing left to feel good about, this happens. Just remember that there are good people in this world, so never lose your faith. I've been there, Matthew said. My wife and I, we've been blessed a lot by people in our lives, so I try to help out whenever I see an opportunity. Now, for me, this was an expression of loving kindness. We don't hear these kind of stories very often, but the truth is that they happen. They happen all the time, everywhere. For me, Matthew is a man who lives from the heart. When I sat with my title, Live from the Heart, the first thing that came to me was this word, heart. The word itself is a symbol that's used around the world to imply or to represent love, or the feeling of love. Love is then, on one hand, a noun. It's a feeling, an energy that includes being in a state of acceptance, compassion, forgiveness, healing, intimacy, giving, being responsible, respect, knowing and being known, humility, self-acceptance, kindness, peace, joy, non-judgment, integrity, caring about the happiness of another without a thought for what it might bring to ourselves, and having the confidence, faith, and courage to risk the unknown. This one word encompasses all of that. But it's also a verb. It's also a verb, a participatory emotion, and a context from which we can create the experiences of our lives. It's a choice that we make, a choice that we can make, and a choice that we need to make time and time again. A state of being from which we live our life. Ernest Holmes says the true meaning of love is a wonderful thing, for it is the desire of the soul to express itself in terms of creation. Creation is brought about only through the self-givingness of the lover to the object of his or her love. This is why when we love people, we will go to the limit to help or to serve them. Nothing is too great. No sacrifice is enough. Now, the master teacher, Jesus, had only 2 commandments. The Old Testament had a lot of shoulds and should nots, but Jesus really had only 2 commandments. And the first one is, thou shalt love thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. And the second is, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, that you love one another even as I have loved you. Now, the bottom line is that Jesus taught the law of love, that love and God are synonymous, that God is back of everything that there is, and so therefore, since they're synonymous, love is back of everything that there is. God is all that there is, therefore love is all that there is. Now, what I know is that it is only in learning to be and express love that we really express who we really are. That in order to truly love another, we must open the door of love within us. Love is already present within us. It's a God quality that we arrived on the planet with. So we must open the door to it so that we allow it to flow through and as us. Now, the questions that come up for me that we could ask ourselves in each and every situation is, who am I being in the matter? Do I allow love to flow through me? How does love show up in my life, and how do I reflect it back to others? What is love asking me to do or to be or to say in this situation? Adashante says, for me, love isn't just a nice feeling, not just feeling a state of ecstasy as you sing or chant to God. It's a very robust experience that is proved more by what we do than by what we feel. This is living from the heart. Now, the second thing that came up for me as I sat and contemplated this title was again this word heart. But heart as it means the central or innermost part of anything, as in the heart of the matter. And when I concentrated on this, I immediately became acutely aware of who and what I am at my very core. That at the central, innermost part of me is the divine. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that God created me in its image and likeness, and that power and presence resides within me, at the center of my being. And just as I know that's true for me, I know that it's true for each and every person here today, everyone at home watching, with no exceptions. That each of us is a hologram of the divine. That within us, seeking to be expressed through and as us, is each and every divine quality of God. That within us, seeking to be expressed with us, is the love, the goodness, and the kindness of God. And what I also know is that we were given free will. That we have a choice in the matter. We can choose to allow that love, goodness, and kindness of God to be expressed through. Or we can choose to stay stuck. To stay stuck in our old habitual ways of being. Ways of being that may have been based on stories that may or may not have been true. Ways of being that may have been based on old paradigms or old beliefs or old patterns that no longer serve us. My invitation today is to live from the heart of who we are, from our divinity, from the core of our being, from the inside out, not worried about or not based on anything outside of ourselves, but only on the divinity that is within us. And when we're able to live from the core of our being without reservation or without doubt, then we will spread loving kindness everywhere we are. And when we do that, we are actually participating in creating a world that works for everyone. And wouldn't that be just marvelous? Ernest Holmes says, if love is the self-givingness of spirit, then that man or woman, I will add, who most completely loves will most completely give of him or herself to it. The man or woman that loves his or her work gives himself to it. The one who loves his art gives himself to it. The one who loves his friends and loves his family give themselves to it. the ones that love the causes that they find they resonate with, gives themselves to those causes. This givingness is living from the heart. Living from the heart, listening to that which is within us, asking to be expressed, and then expressing it in all arenas of our lives. But this living from the heart is not always easy, however. For thousands of years, it has not been our default way of living. It has not been the modus operandi of the majority. For eons, humankind has been ruled by the mind, a way of living in which reasoning and rational thinking were valued more than empathy, compassion, love, and kindness. For eons, race consciousness has taught us to be strong, to be competitive, to strike back, to get even, to attack, to retaliate, and to focus on our personal desires without any regard for how it might impact others or the planet. Now, in doing so, we have denied, suppressed, and turned away from one of the most important aspects about ourselves, our hearts. And the world has suffered because of it. To live from our minds and to see the world through our minds, we see separation. We see devastation, and we see insurmountable challenges. To live from our minds is to be separate from the core of our being, from the spark of the divine within, from the heart of who we are. Now, from that place, we question everything without an underlying foundation of faith. In her book, Practicing Peace in Times of War, Pema Chodron says, if we want there to be peace in the world, we have to be brave enough to soften what is rigid in our hearts, to find the soft spot and stay with it. We have to have that kind of courage and take that kind of responsibility. Now, it's not always going to be the easiest route to take. It's not always going to be the most popular route to take. There may be people who will have judgments or criticize or kind of ask, what the heck are you doing? Now, you don't have to look very far in today's society to see what we have collectively manifested. Fear, judgment, resentment, despair, frustration, and anger are at the forefront. In the news, on the television, on the computer, in the forefront. And they're made even more visible by this rapid fire technology that we now enjoy today. I don't know whether things are worse than they ever were. My guess is no. My guess is there's enough of us on the planet that are shifting things that it's not worse, but it's just more visible. And we don't hear enough of the stories about Matthew and Heather to make a difference. We can't continue to live in the way that we've been living. Something has to change. And the only way that it can change is for things to change within us first. Within each and every single one of us. That's our responsibility. That's our gift to the planet. This loving kindness, this living from the heart. We have to awaken to the truth. We have to see beyond the veil of our human perceptions, to know the truth that lies behind there. and to consciously choose to let go of any old beliefs or old paradigms that no longer are working for us, individually and collectively, and then to powerfully step into this idea of heart-centered living. Violence only begets violence. Resentment only begets resentment. Anger only begets anger. Now we have to allow ourselves to consciously and consistently choose love, goodness, and kindness no matter what. No matter what situation or circumstance we find ourselves in. Last week or so ago, Carol Cross sent out a little video. A video of Cory Booker, who I believe is the governor of Newark, also running for a Senate seat. Now, without getting all political, because that's not what I'm going to do, I just want to tell you that he was on CNN, and they were asking him because Donald Trump had just complained about him, had just said some things about him. And Cory Booker had the most amazing response. He had a loving kindness response. He was living from the heart in his response when he said, I love Donald Trump. I love him up. I only want to raise him up. I only send him good wishes. I actually feel like for a long time he hadn't said anything about me, and I kind of felt like I was, not worthy. So now I kind of feel like I'm in the in crowd because now he's saying things about me. So, he could take this light. He could say, I love the man. I don't agree with everything he says, but I love him. I send him love. I send him good prayers. Loving kindness, living from the heart, choosing a road less traveled. Yes? Not retaliating, but standing up, not willing to fight violence with violence, smart aleck remarks with smart aleck remarks. Just send him love. I thought it was beautiful. Now the truth is that wherever we place our attention, whatever we place our attention on, expands. So placing our attention and intention on love and goodness and kindness will only draw unto ourselves and our own lives more love, goodness, and kindness. And then when that happens, then it will also draw it unto the world. In her article called Awakening to Heart-Centered Living, Evita Ochel says, the foundation of heart-centered living is love. Pure and simple. Therefore, when we embrace or step into heart-centered living, we are allowing love to be the guiding force for all that we think, say, and do. What would love have me do now? She goes on to say, we are moving out of fear-based paradigms and moving into love-based paradigms. How this plays out in everyday life on a practical level is huge and has massive implications for all life on the planet. Our hearts are starved, and we are finally coming back to ourselves, healing ourselves, and healing the planet. And doesn't that sound wonderful? Now, in her book, she shares 3 main areas that she believes are the building blocks of putting a heart-centered approach into action in your lives. And these are compassion for self, compassion for others, and compassion for nature. Now, compassion for self is where we have to start. We have to begin right there. It all begins with loving ourselves, and until we can do that, until we can love ourselves, we will really be of no value to ourselves, others, or to the world. Until we love ourselves, we will continue to engage in destructive behaviors that harm ourselves, others, and the planet. The person who has developed a high degree of self-love is actually incapable of being destructive in any way. The higher your level of self-love, the more compassion you exercise in your thoughts and in your words and in your actions. And the bottom line is that we cannot give to anyone or to anything that we do not already have within us. Compassion and self-love for self. The second is compassion for others, and compassion for others is grounded in a deep awareness of our unity with all of life, our oneness with everything. With everything. We see ourselves in the face of everyone we interact with, and we would no more want to hurt someone else than we would want to hurt ourselves. We begin to value things like community, equality, and acceptance, and let go of discrimination, judgment, and prejudice. We stop fearing our differences and begin to celebrate our unique diversity. Because what is true is that we are many different expressions of one source, many different expressions of the divine, connected in ways that can never be broken. We are one. And lastly, this compassion for nature means really owning our responsibility for the stewardship of the planet. That living from the heart means taking care of the earth and not polluting the air or the land or the waters. It means having the highest degree of compassion for all animals, for all plants, and for all species of life. We begin to have a high reverence for nature, knowing that it has a sacred balance, and that it's really up to us to learn to work with that sacred balance and not to fight against it, but to learn to be able to work with it. We're all part of this one whole, and we are responsible for it, each of us. So love yourself, love all others, and love the planet. What could be so hard about that? And what we've been doing hasn't been working. So I don't know about you, but I kind of think we should try something else. Like heart-centered living, for example. Live from the heart. Yes? Yes. And so it is. Thank you. So I invite us to turn within. To allow ourselves to recognize the presence of the one Spirit, the one life, the one love, the one mind, the one creative energy back of everything that there is. I call this power and presence God, but it goes by many other names. Love, for example. Now I know that I was created by this love. Out of itself. So I know that all that it is, I am, and yet I'm not the whole, the grandeur of it. That there is something mystical and magical. And so I just know that, and I just sit with that. And I recognize that it's not only true for me, but also true for each and every person here today and for everyone at home, that each of us is a unique and divine expression of it, an ambassador of it, that it experiences life through each of us in our own unique and individualized way. That we are all one and yet diverse, all one and yet many, unique and individualized, and yet connected in ways that can never be broken. And it is from this place of unity that I speak these words about and for each of us this morning. Simply knowing that we are spiritual beings having a human incarnation. And that this power and presence that I call God is ever present, always available, always guiding, guarding, fueling, funding, sourcing, and supporting each and every experience that we have. That this power and presence is the very essence of love and goodness and kindness. And that that love and goodness and kindness resides within each of us as a divine emanation of God. And so what I claim for each of us today is that there is ease and grace as we powerfully step into this idea of a heart-centered living, this idea of living from the heart, that we recognize its importance, that we recognize its significance, that we recognize that we can support each other, that we are here as a community of like-minded people that understand what we're doing and why, that do not criticize or judge. And so I know that as we powerfully step into this way of being, this heart-centered living, that it shifts our lives, that it changes our lives, that who we are as that channel for love, goodness, and guidance and kindness brings that to each and every experience, to each and every relationship, and forever changes them. That our yes to being here is a powerful yes to letting loose anything that does not look like that, letting loose anything that does not serve us any longer, and standing powerfully in the truth of creation. And I'm so grateful to know this truth. So grateful to be able to speak these words on our behalf today. So grateful that prayer looses these words into this mechanical law that works with regularity, simply clothing my words in form even as they are spoken. And so I speak them with love and gratitude and full expectation of their manifestation. And I invite each of us to anchor them for ourselves and for each other by simply saying, and so it is. Amen. Amen. Thank you, everyone. It is now a time for